the US-China trade war has escalated once again, with both sides imposing new tariffs on each other's goods. This latest chapter in the ongoing trade dispute has heightened tensions between the world's two largest economies. The US, under the Trump administration, has accused China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and forced technology transfers. These accusations have been met with denials and counter-accusations from Beijing. In response to these concerns, the US has imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese imports. These tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods, making them more expensive for American consumers and businesses. China has retaliated with its own tariffs on US products, targeting key American exports like soybeans and automobiles. This tit-for-tat exchange of tariffs has created uncertainty in the global market. The impact of the trade war has been felt by businesses and consumers on both sides of the Pacific. American businesses that rely on Chinese imports have seen their costs rise, and some have been forced to pass these costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices. Chinese businesses have also been hurt by the tariffs, as they have made Chinese goods less competitive in the US market. The trade war has also had a broader impact on the global economy. The International Monetary Fund has warned that the tariffs could slow global economic growth. The uncertainty created by the trade war has made businesses hesitant to invest and hire, which could further dampen economic activity. In a move that has been interpreted as a strategic maneuver, President Trump has offered a temporary reprieve from tariffs to most of America's trading partners. This 90-day pause on tariffs is intended to encourage direct trade talks and potentially lead to new trade agreements. However, China has been conspicuously excluded from this offer. The Trump administration has argued that this exclusion is justified, as China is the primary target of its trade policies. The US has accused China of not doing enough to address its unfair trade practices, and the exclusion from the tariff pause is seen as a way to increase pressure on Beijing. This move has been met with mixed reactions from the international community. Some analysts believe that this targeted approach could be effective in bringing China to the negotiating table. By offering concessions to other countries, the US is isolating China and making it clear that it is serious about addressing its trade concerns. Others, however, are concerned that this approach could backfire. They argue that by alienating China, the US risks escalating the trade war and further damaging the global economy. They also point out that excluding China from the tariff pause could be perceived as bullying by other countries, potentially undermining America's standing in the world. China has responded to the US's actions with a combination of defiance and strategic maneuvering. Beijing has vehemently denied the accusations of unfair trade practices and has vowed to defend its interests against what it perceives as American protectionism. The Chinese government has accused the US of violating international trade rules and of acting unilaterally. In response to the tariffs, China has imposed retaliatory tariffs on a range of US goods, targeting key sectors of the American economy. This tit-for-tat approach is intended to inflict economic pain on the US, and to demonstrate that China is willing to engage in a protracted trade war. Beyond the economic measures, China has also embarked on a diplomatic offensive to rally international support for its position. Beijing has been actively engaging with other countries, particularly in Europe, to garner opposition to the US's trade policies. China has also been emphasizing its commitment to free trade and globalization, portraying itself as a responsible stakeholder in the global economy. China's response to the trade war is multifaceted, involving a combination of economic retaliation, diplomatic outreach, and a concerted effort to shape the narrative surrounding the trade dispute. This approach highlights China's determination to protect its interests and its growing assertiveness on the global stage. As the US-China trade war continues, both countries are engaged in a delicate dance of diplomacy and rhetoric. China in particular has been actively engaging in diplomatic efforts to mitigate the impact of the trade war and to garner support for its position. Chinese officials have been meeting with their counterparts from around the world, emphasizing the importance of cooperation and dialogue in resolving the trade dispute. These diplomatic engagements are part of China's broader strategy to counter the US's actions and to portray itself as a responsible global actor. China has been particularly active in engaging with European countries, seeking to forge a united front against the US's protectionist policies. However, these diplomatic efforts have been met with mixed results. While some countries have expressed sympathy for China's position, others have been reluctant to take sides in the trade war. The US, with its significant economic and political clout, still holds considerable sway over many countries, making it difficult for China to forge a united front against Washington. Despite the diplomatic efforts, the rhetoric surrounding the trade war remains heated. Chinese officials have accused the US of bullying and of engaging in economic terrorism. They have vowed to defend China's interests and have warned that the US will ultimately bear the brunt of the trade war's consequences. This strong rhetoric reflects the growing frustration in Beijing with the US's actions and the hardening stance of the Chinese government.